Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the MJ Innocent Podcast. I'm your host, Moonwalker Tanya. Alright, so before I begin this episode, I wanted to let you guys know about something. If you haven't heard, there's a new 2-part documentary on A&E called The People vs. Michael Jackson. If you haven't watched it, please do not watch it. I have both parts recorded on my DVR. I'll watch it for you, just like I had to with the stupid mockumentary, and I will debunk it, because my good friend Lala Chan Network told me about this documentary, and she was very upset about it. And when I first heard about it, I tried to keep an open mind that maybe they were going to discuss the 93 case and the 05 case to, I wasn't sure really what to expect. But I watched maybe 10 to 15 minutes of part 1 while I was eating dinner earlier. And then I had to switch to something else because I was getting irritated. So I'll watch it maybe this weekend, and I'll start deciding how I'm going to debunk it. So please do not watch it. I'll suffer through it for you. We don't want to give anything that's anti-MJ views, because that's what they want. Alright, so with that being said, let's go ahead and go into the topic of this video, which is part 2 of discussing Corey Feldman.
He learned the details of the current case and found out that a key piece of evidence is alleged to be a pornographic magazine with 2 sets of fingerprints on it, Michael Jackson's and the young boy he's accused of molesting. Feldman says he knew he had to reveal his own story.
Well, Michael and I would talk about him sleeping over at my house. I'd say, "Do you have any books at your house?" "Well, what do you mean? What kind of books?" I'd say, "Well, Playboy, Penthouse, that sort of thing. As long as there's books there, then I'll come sleep over." Now you can take that for what it's worth.
That doesn't prove anything.
Right.
That doesn't prove that Michael Jackson's a pedophile.
No.
That doesn't prove that he's molested anybody.
Right.
Now, Corey Feldman was born in 1971 and met Michael in 1984. So he claims that he was the same age Gavin was during the time when he was making these allegations. So Corey said that he was like 13 or 14. First of all, if an adult is asking a teenage boy if they have pornography at their house when they're not even old enough to possess it, that should be a red flag on its own. And, and just in case anyone doesn't know, Corey is a real survivor of child sexual abuse, but not by Michael, though. I have to put that out there, obviously. And so you would think that when he testified in 93, saying that, Michael never did anything, he didn't touch me or anything, even if he did ask about pornography, why didn't Corey mention that back then? But you see, that's why Corey is not always a credible source, because in 93, he defended Michael. In 05, he wanted to testify for the prosecution. But the prosecution didn't call him. And then right when Michael was acquitted, Corey said, "Okay, he's innocent." When the mockumentary came out, Michael's innocent, it's not true. Then he received backlash from the haters and the media. And then they said, and then he said, "I can no longer defend Michael Jackson." So, Corey, when you go back and forth like that, that's not helping your case. And plus, the evidence that he was referring to that made him tell that story about the pornography, that was falsified evidence. So, the reason why it was falsified was because Tom Sneddon handed Gavin one of Michael's magazines. He said, "Is that the magazine Michael used with you?" Gavin said yes. But Gavin was not wearing gloves. So when the magazine was tested, the fingerprints were found. But the problem is, that issue in question was published 6 months after the Arvizo family left the ranch. So, I think it's pretty obvious how Gavin's fingerprints got on that magazine. Yeah.
So why does it disturb you now?
Because when I look at the pieces of evidence, and I see that one of the pieces of evidence is Michael Jackson looking at pornographic material with a child, and the child is 13 or 14 years old, and the fact that I witnessed that exact occurrence in my own life at the same age has to give me reason to pause and say, if this happened with me, and the kid's saying it happened with him,
It was falsified.
then this can't be all made up, and it can't all be lies. Because we went to his apartment, and I noticed a book that he had out on his coffee table. The book contained pictures of grown men and women naked. And the book was focused on venereal diseases in the genitalia. And he sat down with me and he explained it to me. Showed me some different pictures and discussed what those meant. I was kind of grossed out by it. I didn't think of it as a big deal. And for all these years, I probably never thought twice about it. But in light of recent evidence, I have to say that if my son was 13 years old and went to a man's apartment that was 35, and I knew that they were sitting down together talking about this, I would probably beat his ass.
Okay, so there are a lot of questions that I have regarding this alleged book of sexual diseases. Now, since Michael kept everything, and his homes were raided multiple times, my first question is, did Michael actually have this book in question? And what I will say is that Corey looked at Michael like a father figure and also like an older brother, because Michael knew that Corey didn't have good relationships back at home. So he was basically trying to look out for Corey. The same thing that he did with Macaulay Culkin and Wade Robson, for example. And like I said, I've never seen Corey mention like the pornography or this alleged book anywhere except in this interview. And he's done a lot of interviews about Michael. So that's a little suspicious to me. And plus, as far as I know, he didn't say anything about that to the investigators. So, when he is a real survivor. So, but what I will say, let's say, for example, if Michael actually showed him this alleged book. Okay, because we don't know if it really happened or not. If Michael did that, then that was wrong of him to do that. It doesn't prove anything, though. But, I'm an older sister myself, and I've always tried to, look out for my younger sister and things like that. But let me put it to you this way. Like, obviously, it was not Michael's responsibility to ever have that discussion with him, if it happened, which I don't believe it is, only because he keeps going back and forth. If he didn't go back and forth so much, and yeah. But even I was never shown a book like that, But my parents wouldn't have to show me a book like that anyway. But there was, like, a few people who tried to say that, you know, Corey was fooling around a lot, and maybe that was the reason why Michael showed him that book, if it happened. But, I mean, like Corey said, he was like 13 or 14 at that time, so if he was really fooling around at that young of an age, that's not good. But again, if Michael showed him that book, if Michael actually had it in his possession, which also would not make sense, considering that Michael wasn't, you know, he didn't view women that way, where he would even have to have a book like that. So, I don't know. But even if Michael was trying to look out for Corey, yeah, you don't do that. But again, that's why I have a lot of suspicions, because he kept going back and forth, either defending or going against Michael. And this interview with Bashir is the only interview where I've seen him mention this stuff. So I have a lot of questions about this, and, you know, probably won't get answers either. But what do you guys think about this? Because, I mean, now I don't remember how old Corey was when he was molested, but you would think, though, that if someone was trying to look at pornography with him, or trying to show him a book regarding sexual diseases, that you would mention that to the authorities. Like, well, he didn't touch me, but, you know, he said, you know, like, do you have any, like, pornography at your house? Or, you know, and in this book, you know, you want to make sure that you avoid this. You know, I mean, like I said, those things, they don't prove anything, but it would show suspicion. But he's not credible, so like I said, there's a lot of questions that he would have to answer, which I highly doubt he would. So, those are my thoughts on this. What do you guys think? Because, you know, I just wish that he would tell the truth, and I understand that Corey has been trying so hard to receive justice from the person who molested him. And, you know, and Corey, like I said in part 1, I really hope you can receive justice, you know. But, you know, I don't know if maybe the media was trying to play with your head, you know, trying to say, like, oh, you know, if you trash Michael in this interview, you know, we can help you get justice or something. Like, and I'm not saying that that's how it happened, but it wouldn't surprise me, because we know that a lot of people were paid a lot of money to trash Michael. And even Bill Whitfield, you know, he said the media offered him millions of dollars. And Bill said, well, I never saw anything inappropriate with Mr. Jackson. And the media said, and this is what Bill said, because I heard him say it. He said, quote, they told me, we don't care whether if what you say negative about Mr. Jackson is true or false. As long as it's negative and you say it, we'll pay you millions, and people will believe it because it came from you, end quote, which is not true. By the way, Bill Whitfield has never trashed Michael. So that would be a huge red flag and a lot of questions, you know. And even, let's see, Aaron Carter, he was offered 6 figures to trash Michael. He said no. And, let's see, Ron Newt, he said he was offered $200,000. But he thought it was going to be an interview where he could defend Michael. But so when he showed up for the interview, they were like, oh, no. We will only pay you the $200,000 if you say that Michael molested your kids. And Ron said, well, he didn't. And he said, it doesn't matter. Just say he did, and we'll pay you the $200,000. Ron Newt refused. And, well, he mysteriously passed away not too long after that. So there is evidence that the media has always been after Michael. And I've always had questions of motives from the accusers, because even though some people will try to say that since Michael isn't here today, money is the only option for Wade and James, well, like I've done before in the past, name one accuser who didn't go after money when Michael was alive. Time's up. Alright, so yeah, that's basically what I have to say about this. So let me know what you guys think, and I will see you in the comments. Love you.